I don't remember moving down here. I don't remember living in Indiana at all. We lived in this little modular home for a little bit, and until maybe I was about 7. And then we moved to Germantown, and there was this huge house that we lived in. It was like this 3-story house. It was so pretty. It was by this lake. I loved it. And that's whenever my parents got a divorce, so I had to like move around a lot, and like I lived with my mom in like so many different homes, and then we finally moved to King, and my dad moved to Kernersville, and now my dad lives in Winston. Maybe like 8, 9, 10-ish, around that area, those ranges. They were like fighting a lot when I was like 8 through 9. I remember like going to the top of the stairs and I could hear them fighting. It was really bad. I'd always be like, hey Dad, is everything okay? And I'd be like crying, be like, I don't want y'all to split up. And he would just be like, no, everything's fine. I promise everything's fine. And then whenever they finally did, I got so mad at my dad. And I was just like, you promised. You promised me that y'all were not going to split up. I don't know, I was not a very happy kid then. It was a public school and it was in Winston. And they always would like hit my stuff onto the ground, and they would like push me in the bathrooms and hit me and everything, and I would always have bruises, and Mom was like, what's wrong? Why do you have bruises? And I'd be like, oh, I was just out in the woods. I fell from a tree. And she was just like, are you sure? And I'm like, yeah, I just fell from a tree. I got bruises from that. It's like, that wasn't the truth. Mm-hmm. And then I'd come home and hear them fight, and it was bad. Didn't make me any tougher.
It didn't?
No, I don't like fighting at all.
Oh, yeah.
I never fought back with them. I never did anything. I just let them do what they wanted. I mean, I went there till 8th grade. I graduated there in 8th grade and came to King, and that's whenever I started at West. And I was so happy because like I went in there and it was like more of my type of people, like country people and all that, and I was like, oh, this is so nice, and I was so happy, and I made friends so quickly. And that's whenever I had met Jacob, that guy I dated for 3.5 years, and it was so great, and I loved that school. I used to go to the football games, and I would cook in my cooking class, and we would make cupcakes, and I'd go sell them at the football games and the baseball games, and it was so fun. I loved that. Well, it's like a story I don't normally like to tell people, but I can tell you. Okay. It's kind of like a deeper story. When I was in 9th grade, and I had met a lot of my friends. They're not my friends anymore. They were my friends through like 9th and some of 10th grade, but they were the kids that I should not had got involved with. And I kind of got into smoking marijuana. And I went over to their house one weekend, and she and her buddies were like, we invited some guys over, blah, 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 and I wasn't really thinking anything of it, and I was like, okay, whatever. I was only 14. I'd like just turned 14, and I was like, okay, whatever, didn't matter. And then these guys showed up, and I wasn't really communicating with any of them. I was mostly just hanging around my friend, and then I'd like almost fell asleep on the couch, and this guy was sitting beside me, and I was like, hey, could you get me something to drink? And he was like, oh yeah, sure. And he got up and he got me something to drink, and I don't remember what he got me, but I just drank it, and because I had been like drinking alcohol that night and everything. Again, I was only 14. I was stupid. I don't do that stuff anymore. And he brought me this drink, and I drank it, and then he was like, hey, do you want to come outside with me real quick? And I said, yeah, sure. So he brought me outside, and he put me in his car, and he drove me to this abandoned house, and whatever he'd given me to drink was, I'm pretty sure, whatever that pill is, that rape pill.
A roofie type
A roofie, and he brought me inside, and yeah, he took advantage of me, and I couldn't do anything because that medicine that was in the drink, and
wow.
It was awful. And whenever all I remember really is waking up and him throwing my clothes at me and saying, "Get dressed, do not tell anybody." And I was just like, "Oh, okay." And he went and told all my friends that I had sex with him and that I was a whore, and I lost all those friends. Then I realized I didn't even want those friends anymore. Like, those were not my type of friends I wanted to be around. And then I was anorexic for like a year and a half. I would literally not eat for a week. I would just drink water. I would eat like crackers. And then I met Jacob, and he was like, he noticed that I wasn't eating, and he asked me why I wasn't eating, and I refused to tell anybody the story. I didn't tell anybody that story until like 3 years later. I did not tell anybody.
Wow.
And I told him one day whenever I was sitting in his truck and I was crying, and I told him, and he was like, "Is that why you don't eat?" And I was like, "Yeah," but he like was forcing me to eat. Like, if we ate, he would not let me get up off the table until I finished my meal.
Wow.
And so he was like making it to where I finally was able to eat. And I told him, and it helped me a lot to finally get it out. And like, I've still never told anyone his name. I've never told anyone where the house was.
Mm-hmm.
I've never done anything like that. It's just like, I don't mind to tell people, like, if I'm dating a guy, it causes a lot of issues with the sexual life. I don't like to be sexually intimate. I don't like it. I never have ever since then. I'm not big on that stuff. And it causes a lot of issues because they don't know why I don't like to be like that, and it scares me to have sex because I don't look at the person as them. I look at them as that guy, and I can never make that go away. I feel like that's one of the reasons why Jacob might have left me, because he got really irritated with that. I told my mom about it like a year ago. And because I was just so upset, and she did not know what was wrong with me, and she was just like, "Sarah, what is wrong with you? Why have you been so sad lately? You've been sad for years, you know." And I just like looked at her, and I guess she could tell in my face, and she was like, "Sarah, did someone rape you?" And I was like, I just looked at her, and I was kind of like nodding my head a little bit, and she got mad, like not mad at me, but she was just mad. And she went to the kitchen, and she was just so furious about it. And then she was like, "Sarah, come in here and tell me what happened." So I told her everything, and she was like, "Why did you not tell me whenever it happened? Why did you not tell anybody?" And I was just like, I didn't want him to hurt me or you guys or my friends. And he was a big guy. Like, he could have hurt me if he wanted to. I don't even know how old he was. He was maybe 19 or 20, and I was 14. I could tell, though, by the place he had brought me that he's done that before, because, like, you walk in, and then the bedroom that he brought me into is just, like, an old mattress, and it had, like, there was a blanket on the ground, there were clothes all over the floor, and then there was a mirror to my left, and it was broken, and it was just, like, it was so gross and so scary. I don't know, I don't have any proof now, like, all I have is his name and my story against his story.
Right.
And of course he's gonna be like, "No, that didn't happen." I'm always scared, like, all the time. I can be walking around Walmart or Food Lion, and I'll just, like, get super scared. Like, I'll, like, see a guy look at me, and I'm just like, why is he looking at me? Like, or, like, someone will just be, like, walking behind me, just casually walking behind me. They're just, like, going to the same place I am in the store, and I'm just like, this person's following me. They're gonna kidnap me. They're gonna kill me. And that's always what I'm afraid of. I'm just like, it's this person. Like, I'm always super cautious. It's only guys, though, that I'm cautious about. I'm completely and utterly afraid of all male people.
Yeah.
It's like they freak me out. In my head, if I don't know them personally, and if I don't trust them, I don't like them. Go away. That's another reason why I have problems with, like, dating. But I've never had any other problems other than that. Like, no one even knows that I'm that cautious, really. You can't tell. Chastity can every now and then. We'll be, like, walking around Winston or something, or we'll go to Bowman Gray, and I'll just be, like, looking like this the whole time, and she's like, "Sarah, no one's gonna hurt you. You're fine." And I'm like, "We could walk to our car and someone could just throw us in theirs." And she's like, "But that's not gonna happen." And I'm like, "But it could." And she's like, "It's not gonna happen. You're fine." I think I told her his name, but only her, and that's because she's literally like my closest friend that I've ever had.
Mm-hmm.
Me and her are like sisters, pretty much. We hang out every single day. We haven't really had a day apart in like, good lord, 6 months. We hang out every day. I was brought up a Baptist, and then I was Catholic for a little bit, and now I don't really care. I'm just kind of like, if we die and everything's black and dark and ain't nothing there, then we die and that's how it is. If we die and there's this wonderful mystical place that everyone talks about, there's that. I don't really care. That's for whenever I die. I don't really believe in anything, I guess. I don't like to go to Baptist churches anymore because Baptist people are a lot more judgmental than Catholics. That's why I was Catholic for a long time, because Baptist people is just like, if you did not believe every single thing that came out of their mouth, you were wrong. And you were this awful person. And I was like, I do not like the way they teach this. And so I started going to a Catholic church because Jacob was Catholic. And I was like, I would always refuse to go with him. And then I was like, okay, whatever, I'll go with you one day and see what your church is like. And I went and I like fell in love, and I was like, I love this. Like, they're not judgmental. They're so much more calm. Like, it's great. And then I just kind of like drifted away from all of it, and I was like, it doesn't really matter to me anymore. That girl Chastity that I was hanging out with, she has always been atheist, always. And whenever I was like really godly and everything, like extremely religious, she didn't want to tell me, and then one day she just told me, and I was like, Chastity, why? And she was like, I just don't believe. She was like, and I just thought I would tell you. And I was just like, oh my goodness, Chastity. And she was just like, I knew you were going to act like this. I was just like, I just don't see how you just can't. And I don't know. Now we pretty much both think the same, and she's like, see, you freaked out on me for nothing. Well, like, I would try and talk to her about like what I believed in, and then she would come back with like better proof of why she doesn't, and I'm just like, I would have nothing, and I'm like, oh,
right,
I guess you're right. Yeah. My daddy is really religious, and I just recently told him that I don't really care about religion. And my mom, I don't really know about my mom. She's like, every now and then she'll be religious, and every now and then she's not. She's kind of just out there. She has her own thoughts all over the place. But my dad, he's a very strong Southern Baptist, and he would always sit there and tell me how I need to go to church, how I need to pray. And I did not want to tell him that I didn't really care about any of that, so I just kind of kept my mouth shut, and I was like, okay. And then one day I was like, Dad, I don't want to go to church. I don't want to pray because I don't believe that there's anything to pray to. And he was like, what? And I was like, I don't care about that stuff. I don't really believe if there's anything up there, and I don't care if there is. I was like, if there is, there is. If there's not, there's not. But I don't care right now. And he got mad. Really mad. I believe in spirits, and I believe in, like, I feel like maybe there could be reincarnation. Maybe. I'm not really gonna be able to have kids because I have ovarian cysts. Jacob and I, that guy dated for 3.5 years, me and him were trying to have kids. Before we broke up, we were trying really hard to have kids, and I did get pregnant for a month. And it was the happiest moment of my life. Like, I was like, I could feel my body was different, and so I took a test, and I called him, and I was like, Jacob, I have to tell you something. And I freaked out. And I was pregnant for about a month, and then I ended up having a miscarriage, and then they were like, yeah, you're not really going to be able to have kids. It's going to be really, really hard for you. And I was like, oh, okay. That's fine. I was so happy though. I was just like he was talking about how like he got this job and he was talking about how he were gonna like move out and everything and how we could do it, and yeah, I was 18. It was like last year around like November. Well, everything was acting kind of weird for a little while. We were getting kind of distant with each other. And I just thought, we've been in a relationship for 3 years, it's going to get a little bit distant. We're not going to be completely all about each other all the time. We're going to, have our own lives. And then it's just like he kept getting more and more distant. He stopped, he wouldn't answer my phone calls. So I would just like go over to his house and just hang out with him. He would hardly ever text me. He would hardly even talk to me whenever I was over at his house. He would always have his friends over. And then I remember this girl, Madison, she was always kind of my friend, but she was more Jacob's friend than mine. And I remember he worked at this daycare with his mom. And I remember I went to the daycare and I sat down next to his mom and I looked down and I saw a application with Madison's name on it. And I was just like, I don't want you to hire her. I was like, her and Jacob have a thing and I know it and I don't want you to hire her. And she was like, well, we really need someone else in the baby room. We really should hire her. And I was like, I really don't want you to. Like, can you please not? You're going to ruin our relationship if you hire her. And she was like, I don't know. I'll think about it. And she ended up hiring her. And then, like, 3 months later is whenever he left me for her. Like, I remember he got really, like, weird about his phone. Like, he would take it with him everywhere. Mm-hmm. And, like, if he was sleeping, he would, like, sleep on it pretty much to where I couldn't grab it. And he would always be texting really discreetly, and she would always call him. I would be with him and she would call him and he'd be like, she's just talking to me. We're just talking. I'll be right back. And I always knew there was something up. And I kind of like tried to prepare myself for it because like I said, he got me to eat again. He helped me get off a lot of things that I was doing. He helped me a lot with my life. Like, he made me part of the person I am today, like the good person I am. He helped me get into college and everything like that. And then whenever he left, like, it literally, I felt like I had nothing because like he was my only friend too. He was really controlling and I wasn't allowed to have any friends. None, not at all. Not even Chastity. I was not allowed to have anything. And he just was really controlling. I wasn't have any friends. So whenever we broke up, I didn't have any friends. I didn't have him. And I was just like, what am I supposed to do with my life? And I went to college, and he went to the same college as me with her, and so I would see them every day. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is the most awful thing I've ever done in my life. It was so, so sad. And then, I don't know. I just realized that I did not need him. And then I made myself who I wanted to be because, like, he made it to where I wasn't allowed to wear certain clothing. I wasn't allowed to hang out with anybody. I wasn't allowed to do certain things. And then once we broke up, I did what I wanted to do. I bought clothes I wanted to wear. I hung out with who I wanted to hang out with. And I'm happier that way. I was happy with him. I didn't realize how unhappy I was with him until we broke up. Mm-hmm. I didn't even realize that until like 2 months ago, how unhappy I was in that relationship. Mm-hmm. It was like I was just so used to it. He was all I ever had, and I was just like, this is fine. Like, I was totally happy at that time to make a life with him. If he would have proposed to me, I would have said yes. Like, I was 110% into this boy. Like, that's all I wanted. And then I started thinking, and I'm still thinking, and it's just like, man, I'm kind of glad that things are the way they are now. Like, I don't want that type of guy. I want to do what I want to do, and I want the guy to love me for me. And I've been finding that a lot of guys do like me for me, and it's like, I don't need him. I need someone else. I don't even need anybody, to be honest.